Okay, so in my last video, I talked about how the wife of the head of the intelligence unit in Ukraine was poisoned. And I went through and showed you the process that I go through to verify sources. Here I'm going to show you what is a terrible process and how things get created and then amplified when they're bad sources. So here's some breaking news. Ukraine's Zelensky caught buying $75 million yachts. Zelensky has 2 shining yachts. Biden, you lovely rich something. President Zelensky uses proxies to hide ownership. Ukrainian President Zelensky uses proxies to hide. Revealed anti-oligarch Ukrainian president's offshore, blah, blah, blah. So we're going through these articles about Zelensky, and it all stems, it seems, from this one YouTube video by this guy who, I don't know who the guy is, Shanzid Nazir. Now, he's what appears to be the base of all of these articles. You'll also notice that he has 75 subscribers. So Shahid's not exactly a huge guy, popped up from nowhere, but he knows stuff about Zelensky's yacht. So we're going to watch some of this, and then we're going to look at the articles, and then we're going to go and we're going to watch and see what Redacted had to say. And the reason that we're going to watch and see what Redacted had to say is because Redacted is huge. It has 2.2 million subscribers, and so when they amplify this guy who is saying almost like he's out of nowhere, he can lie, and they amplify it and they lie, but they're just reporting him, but it still spreads the lie. Okay, so let's listen to what this guy has to say.
Hello guys, my name is Shahzad Nasser. I'm here to share an interesting discovery of mine. Okay, so this is Abu Dhabi.
So I'm first questioning whether that's an interesting discovery or if this is some kind of intentional hit job on Zelensky, which is what it seems like it is to me.
United Arab Emirates, and this is Abu Dhabi Marina, has hundreds of yachts. Some of them belong to billionaires and royal families, but the yachts that I'm going to tell you about, they don't belong to a royal family member or a billionaire. Please meet Lucky May, a 46-meter yacht built by Italian manufacturer Baglietto. According to this agreement, I have managed to acquire.
Please look at these agreements, because you're going to see these in other documents or other reposts of this. These agreements that he managed to acquire.
This vessel was purchased for almost $25 million by Boris Shifir on October 18th, 2023. Boris Shifir has a brother, Sergei Shifir, who's, according to this document, acquired another even more impressive yacht.
And here are more of the documents that you'll see, again, reposted.
A 55-meter My Legacy yacht. It was built by Italian manufacturer Coda Casa, and the yacht was purchased for almost $50 million a week later on October 25th, 2023. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Both Boris and Sergei are Ukrainian citizens. Both are close friends with the president of Ukraine. Both are Zelensky proxies.
Okay, now he's making an assertion here that there's Zelensky proxies. They're both close friends. They both knew him. They both worked at Vartel 95, which was the production studio that Zelensky worked in. So they both made lots of money in movies. But does that guilt by association mean anything for Zelensky himself?
Here's the photo of Boris. Here's the photo of Sergei.
Guess who you're going to see in between?
And between them is Vladimir Zelensky.
Okay, the president. Again, this guilt by association. That doesn't mean that they're actually doing anything on his behalf. They could be, but that doesn't mean that they are.
Of Ukraine. According to Wikipedia, since May 25th, 2019, Sergei serves as the first assistant to the president of Ukraine. So why do I think that both of Shafir brothers are Zelensky proxies? In business terms, a proxy is an agent acting on behalf of another person. Generally, Proxies are used to disguise a person's ownership of assets or mask their involvement in certain business dealings.
And that could be what's happening. But just because somebody close to Zelensky bought something, like, we don't know enough about this to be able to make any kind of case, right? I mean, he bought a $75 million yacht, let's say. Was the $75 million yacht Zelensky's money? Was it worth $100 million and it was a good investment deal and he had a lot of money, so he bought it because it was a good investment deal? We just don't know those questions. But he's asking the questions, speculating, trying to lead you to certain conclusions, and you have to be careful about that.
The leaked documents in the Pandora Papers.
So this goes way back. And what happened here was that Zelensky did have money offshore, but he also made a fortune in movies before he was president, and that's what they're trying to tie him to now.
That Zelensky owned a stake in a shell company registered in the British Virgin Islands. The company called...
And that's right. And he sold that off just before he became president. And so they're just trying to tar him every way that they can possibly tar him. Now, here's what happens. You take this guy who came out of nowhere. Again, he has 75 subscribers. Let's look at this guy. So more about this channel. He joined in November of 2022. He has one video. He's just, and now that could be, that's not necessarily a sign that he is, anything bad, but it makes you wonder when somebody with one video posted is the guy that's causing all of what you're about to see. So here's BitChute. Ukrainian clown Zelensky bought 2 yachts for 75 million. Lucky me and my legacy. Now, if you go back to my previous video where I was just talking about what good news actually looks like, it only tells us known facts. It doesn't speculate. This is doing exactly the opposite. But again, they're just reposting what this guy said. Now, then you see something like TGI Global News. TGI Global News is an Indian news source. Zelensky has 2 shining yachts. Biden, you lovely rich rascal. Okay, and it goes on and it just talks about the same kinds of things and pictures that you saw in the previous video, which is why we were showing what we were showing. TGI News, again, is an Indian news source that also repeats a lot of RT. Now, the interesting thing about this is RT wasn't even talking about it. That's the interesting thing, because I went and I searched on RT to see if Russia Today was making hay about this. They didn't even touch it. Ukrainian President Zelensky uses proxies to hide ownership of $75 million yachts. Now, again, if you keep repeating it, I studied Gerdes in my master's thesis. He was the propaganda minister in Germany, and it's attributed to him. I read his diaries and I try to get inside of his mind and understand why he was thinking the way he was. But attributed to him, you hear a phrase, and this is a paraphrase, but you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes truth. And that's what they're trying to do. Here's MZ Mir. I've never heard of MZ Mir. He's a writer out of New York, and I don't know that he does much, but you see these documents. You're seeing it. Here's the yachts. There's the evidence. The lucky me. Here's Zelensky with these guys. Guilt by association. Okay, so and then you go on and you see others. This is the laziest one. This is the Free Republic. It's a 1-sentence, 2-sentence review of the same thing, and that's it. You see a Twitter post. This is the same guy. This is the guy that we just saw giving his talk and posting it on Twitter. And so he's putting it out in multiple ways. It's got 16.6 thousand views just in those few days. Here's Strategic Culture Foundation. I've never heard of them before. They're claiming to be something probably more significant than they actually are. Now, here's how they describe this. Now, does this sound newsworthy and objective to you? If it doesn't, you want to be careful. That's one of the standards that you want to think through. In a striking expose, an independent journalistic inquiry you mean this guy? That's not an independent journalistic inquiry. This is some guy on YouTube making a claim. That's about all that it is. Okay? An independent journalistic inquiry has brought to light an egregious display of opulence by President Volodymyr Zelensky's closest associates, Boris and Serhiy Shafir, 2 of Zelensky's confidants, who have been implicated in the purchase of 2 ultra-luxury yachts with a jaw-dropping combined cost of $75 million. It appears that they did buy something, but is that related to Zelensky? That's the million-dollar question, no pun intended. Ukrainian leadership reputation has been further marred by recent corruption scandals involving high-ranking military officials. Yes, that is correct. Absolutely. And I've tracked that in my daily and weekly updates about what's going on in Ukraine. And they're rooting out all these scandals. They could be just trying to sweep them under the carpet, but they're not. They're trying to expose them and get beyond them so that they can root out corruption. Boris and Serhiy Shafir, emerging from the same roots as President Zelensky, have risen to prominence and power. Born in the same city as Zelensky, Kiviri, they share a bond that transcends the professional, a camaraderie rooted in shared experience and collective rise to prominence through the Kvartal 95 studios. I already talked about that earlier. And here are the documents again. Here's the picture again. There's nothing new here. Ukraine's chronic struggle with corruption is deeply rooted in its history. Full stop. Ukraine has had a struggle with corruption. Russia's worse, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because Russia's worse doesn't mean Ukraine's okay. That's a fair statement. They have had this problem. The oligarchic power structures have long cast a shadow over the nation's governments, epitomized by the infamous Burisma scandal. Oh, they're going to Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, Burisma, and the contentious dismissal of Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin, allegedly to protect Hunter Biden. Okay, so they're tying it to that to say, see, this is more evidence that they're corrupt and this is corruption and then all must be corruption. Then they go to this. A recent shopping extravaganza by Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, in New York City amplifies concerns over the misuse of American aid. These actions not only raise questions about the ethical conduct of Ukraine's first family, but also signal the potential role of Ukrainian corruption in fueling regional instability. Okay, I'm glad that they raised that because I did an entire video at the time. This was 1 month ago. The truth about Olena Zelenska's shopping spree at Cartier in New York City. It was all fabricated. I show you that. They fabricated the receipt. The receipt that she apparently bought all these millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff was on a day that she wasn't even in New York because they fabricated it badly. It was like one issue after another. Go and see this. I'll link this at the end if you want to see this video just to see how bad this hit job was. So yeah, I mean, that's where we are. Now, the real misery is that something with 2.2 million subscribers is going to pick up on something where he only had 75 subscribers in this particular video, and this video only was seen 22,000 times because it's taking on a life of its own. But then it's going to be radically amplified when you see it on Redacted. So now we're going to watch and see what they say on Redacted in light of everything that I just explained.
Ukrainian President Zelensky somehow managed to buy 2 multi-million-dollar yachts.
Okay, stop. Can he actually say that? Can he say that he knows for sure that Zelensky bought it rather than somebody that he knows bought these yachts? Like, nobody's challenging the idea that these two guys bought something. Like, nobody's arguing that. But was it Zelensky?
That's right. Totaling $75 million. And he did this apparently just a few days ago, according to documents.
So again, he did this. You're losing points for critical thinking, Clayton. You can't make that argument. Now, I can't say that he hasn't either. Like, I can't say, no, it hasn't been Zelensky. I can prove it. I can't prove that it's not. But I don't think it is. I'm speculating that it's not because statistically I can't say 100%, no, it is not, but it doesn't look like it is, and it looks like these are just circumstantial connections that don't necessarily prove what they're saying. Keep going.
You might want to hide your purchases when you're Zelensky, though, because you have to have friends sign your paperwork for you so you can actually hide it, right? Do it through either a money laundering or a proxy. That's how you buy things if you're Zelensky. Remember when...
Again, his disposition is to assume that Zelensky is corrupt and is doing this because Zelensky's just, in his mind, a bad guy. Okay, let's keep going.
There was all that furor about a year ago when his wife was begging for money from world governments and then was also caught having gone to Paris and buying all those expensive jewelry and bags and everything. So
come on. The assumption, the guilt before being proven is what's going on here.
So America sends you a lot of money, and then your wife goes shopping in Paris. See how that works? Well, now Zelensky has bought 2 yachts, according to journalist Shazed Nasir, 2 of Zelensky's closest friends. Now keep this picture up on your screen.
According to journalist Shahed Nazir, Shahed Nazir is not a known entity. He is one guy that put out one video, and that's all it is, but it's being picked up again and again, and that's where we are.
2 of Zelensky's closest friends purchased 2 yachts, and they're moored in Abu Dhabi and Antibes. Just a few days apart, they purchased these. 2 friends who are brothers, Sergei Shafir and Boris. So here are the documents. According to the documents that this journalist has uncovered, the 2 yachts are named Lucky Me and My Legacy. The one you're looking at here on your screen is Lucky Me, and the other one is My Legacy. See in the upper...
Okay, and these look familiar. That's because they were in the video. And again, he keeps calling this guy a journalist. I'm not sure that he isn't a journalist, but from the one video, I wouldn't call him a journalist.
The left-hand corner of your screen there. And you can see the purchaser, and you can see the name right there in the second box. And you can see the purchase date and the purchase price. $25 million for that one. And the other one is, there it is, $49 million. There you round up with some taxes and so forth. It's $75 million total. So is this where Zelensky will spend his days in exile after he's thrown out of government? You can
note the assumptions here that he will be thrown out of government, that he will be in exile, that he, right? I mean, this is his exit plan.
Take a look and see what the My Legacy yacht looks like on for sale, and you can see the beautiful photos, and they do a full video and fly over with drones, so you can really get a sense of it, you know?
Oh, I look forward to watching our government seize it when he's called a Ukrainian oligarch.
Right, exactly. That'll never happen.
Well, I was going to say, he can take it to sail to Italy and stay in his villa, right? His $50,000 a month villa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was another purchase, of course, that was uncovered by some eagle-eyed journalists.
Okay, let's talk about that one. So this was USA Today. This was April 5th, 2023. Fact check. No proof to back claims of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's assets and income. And they were making all kinds of claims, like he has a Florida home, a $1.2 billion in overseas account, 15 homes, 3 planes, $11 million in monthly income. He has villas here and villas there. Their rating was false. An investigative expert said that there's no evidence of the assets listed in the Post and Forbes, which tracks Zelensky's assets, also found no evidence of these assets. None of Florida's public records show Zelensky has a home. Of course, that's because he was hiding it in a conspiracy. So this is why it's important, because you have all these stupid things being repeated and repeated and repeated. In fact, they shouldn't call this redacted. They should call this repeated. I mean, that's really what's going on this show.
Americans, of course, are paying for this luxury, though, your tax dollars, so Zelensky can live in love.
Another assertion. You're assuming that American dollars are being siphoned off in graft to pay for these things, as opposed to whatever he did own was paid for from himself, and you're assuming that all these other things are actually true when there's no evidence.
Now you might say, wait a second, hold on a second. Perhaps his close Boris friends there just wanted some yachts, and it has nothing to do with Zelensky at all. But not so fast, because there's where they say where there's smoke, there's fire, and they've done this in the past. And according to the Pandora Papers, we've covered this extensively here on the show.
I'm sure that they have. And the Pandora Papers were showing that Zelensky did have offshore assets, but he also earned his own money as a movie actor before becoming the president. Here are his extensive credits. Now, if he acted in all of these things and wrote and produced and etc., of course he had money, so he's going to go and bring this up. Okay, so the point here is that what they're saying, you can't really say, of course he did this, and of course he did that, and of course he did this. He doesn't have a leg to stand on, and he's quoting sources that are tenuous at best. Okay, now what we do know, though, however, is that about a week ago, November 20th, media, 2 more, this is in the Kyiv Independent, 2 more yachts allegedly belonging to Putin discovered. That is some strange timing. Now, I'm not saying that just because this happened in the Kyiv Post that they found 2 of Putin's yachts, Two yachts, the 71-meter Victoria and the 38-meter Orion, are worth a combined total income of more than $65 million, are supposedly used by Putin and his entourage. $70 million super yacht, named something I can't pronounce, which is also allegedly linked to Putin, was seized by Italian authorities. Now, I'm not saying, hear me please, I'm not saying that because this was in the media, Putin ordered a hit job, but it is odd timing. It could be. I'm not saying it is. But what RT tends to do is, and TASS and Pravda, is look at what the other side is doing and then they project it, or what they're doing and they project it on them. And so, but even RT wasn't going down this path. So I just found that to be just fascinating that that's what was going on. Last thing I want to show you here is this, and that is that if you go into my videos and you go into my playlist and you go into reaction videos, you'll see a lot of Redacted and McGregor and Ritter and others along these lines, because they just keep spreading this misinformation. Okay. This is how you think about what is a good journalistic source, the last video I just did, and that'll be linked at the end, and what is a bad journalistic source. And what you just experienced was bad news. This guy providing one video saying, look, Zelensky must have done this because his friends bought this and I found the yachts. And here are the documents mean nothing related to Zelensky unless you can really tie it together. Maybe he can. And if he can, I'll come on and I'll stand corrected. But I don't think that's what happened. Okay, tell me what you think. Put it in the comments below. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Thank you for working with me and thinking through critical thinking with me so that you're better prepared to understand what's out there in the media. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.